Hi, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the class of BCR. And today we'll be starting with a new chapter. I hope you're doing very well, all of you. Doing fantastic. You're taking the most from these classes. I keep repeating this all the time because uh, just to be sure that these classes are actually helping you and you're benefiting from them. If there is any problem that you have from the previous chapters that were taught by me, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we'll start with the chapter number 7. Oh, otherwise, we'll start with the Précis writing today, right? Any problem, I'll give you 2 minutes. You can ask me whatever doubts that you have. If there is no problem, then we'll carry on. We'll start with the session. I'm waiting for it. You can take some time and then respond carefully in case there is any problem. Otherwise, we'll start with our new session today, which is about Précis writing. It's pretty interesting and it's easy too. No idea, हमारा system hang हो गया दूसरे वाला. Okay, I see there are no doubts. So then let's start with our today's class. Now, what do you understand by Précis writing? What is Précis writing and how do we get this word Précis writing? Any idea? How do we get this word Précis writing? What do we understand by the word Précis? And from where do you think that word has actually come? Précis. Oh, I hope your study materials are with you because you know that I refer to the study materials a lot, and I will be doing that same today as well. I will be referring to your study material a lot. Now, Précis writing at Précis word, yes. I get some responses. I see I'm getting some responses. Yes, it's a French name, which means summary. No, it is not summary. No. This is what we will be discussing today, that how Précis is different from summary. Précis doesn't mean summary, no. Have you ever heard the word precise? Be precise in what you say. Be precise in what you write. Right? Do we hear this word a lot? Precise? Okay. Good, Surya. I see I'm getting some good responses. He says precise means something short. Okay. Anything else that you would like to add on to it? Anybody else? So Précis basically comes from the word precise, and you guys are right in saying it's a French word. Now, precise actually means that we are talking about something which is short, something concise, something which is accurate. That is what precise means, right? So now in this chapter, we will be looking at that how you can write something in short, but yet you retain the entire meaning, You are precise in your writing. For example, you're concise, you're accurate, you are kind of exact to what the entire thing was all about. How we can write something in short, yet we can keep the meaning same, right? Because it is different from the word summary. Now, if you talk about what all we will be covering in this chapter, it is about that we'll see that how when we read something quickly, we can get the meaning of something. We understand the meaning in one go. I think I told you this during comprehension passage also. In comprehension passage also, when we read something, our idea is, including our first read, our idea is that to go through and find out what is the main idea, what is the central theme of this entire passage. This is what our first reading is about. Yes. So in the same way, of course, when you're writing something in short, you will have to read something again and again. You cannot understand something in one go. So of course, you will be rereading something again and again. In our first reading, we skim through something. Skim, what do you mean skim? In the first glance, we see that what this passage is about, what is the central idea of this something, right? Then we read something again, which is called scanning. Now in scanning, we come up with the, in scanning, we try to find out more details of something, more features about something, and we understand that what all details are given around and to support our main idea, right? Then we will be discussing about differentiating between the main ideas and the supporting ideas, how these two things are different, and how we can actually discuss these two different things. Clear? Any problem that anybody has so far? We are basically discussing about it, what all things we will be discussing in this chapter. I'm just trying to open my PPT. Just give me a second so that you know what I am actually talking about. Okay, so in the meantime, so this is what our Précis writing is about. Then we will talk about that how to give appropriate title to some text. If there is no text given to us, then how to give an appropriate title. So we will be doing some exercises around it. Then we will be talking about what are the procedures of Précis writing, what are the steps, what are the characteristics, what are the do's and don'ts of Précis writing, so that you can actually stick to the content and you can go on with it. Am I clear? Any doubts so far about that what we will be discussing in this topic? I'll wait for 2 minutes. In case there is any doubt, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we'll just start with it. Clear, clear, clear. Very good. You guys are good kids who understand things in one go. Okay, so here we go. We have already discussed about the objectives of Précis writing and what all things we will be covering in this chapter. This is nothing special. This has exactly been taken from your study material, because we will be sticking to what objectives we have in our study material. Now let's start and let's get going with what Précis writing is. Like we discussed that yes, Précis writing is about
recording in progress.
Précis writing is basically, the word comes from the French word which means precise. Now let's discuss at length what Précis writing actually means. We will be discussing, Himanshu, we will be discussing at length at what it means. What is the difference between summary and the Précis writing? So we will be get going. Let's just understand what Précis writing is. First thing first, it is kind of a gist of any passage. It is something, in a precise manner, you explain that what this passage is about. It just means in a very short way, you explain about something. Yes, you give accurate details. You cannot change the details. You cannot alter the details as per your thing. Sometimes when we try to explain something in our own words, we end up, you will end up losing the accuracy of the text, right? So you need to be very careful that you give details accurately. Then you give a concise description of about something. You do not go on and on and on about description, because if you are discussing something at length, then at the end of the day we are losing the essence of Précis writing. Then the entire exercise of writing Précis writing is defeated if we talk about something in details. We need to be really concise. We need to stick to the point. When I say concise, it means that we need to stick to some particular point, that this is what this text is about, without giving too much of information about it. Because if you are going to include too much of information, then the passage was there. Why do we even need to write the Précis writing, right? You retain the actual meaning. Now, what do you mean by zoom the PPT? Can you see now? Is it better? Okay. We are on the fourth point, which is in the blue box, that is retains actual meaning. When I am talking about giving the accurate details and being concise with the description, that does not mean that we lose the actual meaning. We cannot lose it, because again, the whole exercise is to write something in short. We will be also discussing that where all we need Précis writing, and why do we even need to read about it when it comes to business English, when it comes to professional world. What does Précis writing how will that actually help you? Next is exact reproduction of the logic. You have to exactly reproduce the logic. I'm repeating this again and again. Précis writing does not mean that you change something about the original text. You cannot. You have to stick to what the author or what the writer has actually written initially. So maybe you have a lengthy document, and you've been asked to write the same documentation or the report in a very precise manner, so that can be discussed in the meeting. Because you cannot just tell someone to read long document in the meeting. So you are supposed to write something in short, so that can be quickly taken up in the meeting. Now, in that case, when a report is given to you, or any professional document is given to you, you need to make sure that in your writing, you are retaining the actual meaning. It is yet concise also. You are giving the accurate details also. And you are kind of, giving a gist of what this entire whole thing is about, right? In the entire process, you cannot lose the logic. You cannot miss out onto the logic of the passage. Yeah. So you have to exactly reproduce something. Then you have a special emphasis on the original text. When you are being accurate with your details, when you are being concise, when you are retaining the actual meaning also, you will be laying the emphasis on the original text as well. Are we clear? Any problems so far? In short, it is the exercise of expression. Kriti, I'll come on to that. I will explain the first point again. Now let's tell me, now that you've understood what Précis writing is, in case you have understood, tell me, what does this last block mean? In short, it is the exercise of expression. What do we mean by that? Why do we need Précis? And what does it mean? In short, it's the exercise of expression. It means why do we represent or illuminate ourselves by text? Okay. Recall important data. We have to express the same text in the precise manner. Surya, we're not discussing the Précis writing about a story or a poem or something else. No. Yes, it is an exercise of expression because you are basically writing down what you understand from the passage, right? You are expressing the something some details thing in a very concise, precise manner, right? So expression really matters here a lot. And if there's no expression, then I don't think you will be able to stick to the accuracy or the conciseness of the text. Am I clear? It is also depends on how you express something, right? And at the same time, retail the actual meaning of the text. Are we clear? Any problem so far? Anything? No, Harshit, we do not reflect our thoughts and perception of the text. No, 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 no. We are not including here our what we think. No, we are sticking to what this writing is about, right? What this document is all about. There is no scope of writing your own opinion or your own thought or your own viewpoint about something, right? Or your perception about it. No. When I say understanding means what you have understood from the text that you're reading, right? It's not about what you think about it. It's about what you understood about it. Clear? There are two different things. Being understanding of something or having a perception about something. These things are totally different. Okay. Now, one question. Why are we reading about Précis writing? How do you think this is going to help us? I mean, just think about yourself and tell me how this can help you. Yes, yes. Précis writing states only the thought of the original text. Good. Yes, we just write the passage in our language and in the short way, in a precise manner, in a conciseness. We need to be very concise about what we write. Point 1 and 3. Okay, okay. So the first point was gist of a passage. What do you mean by gist? What do we understand by the word gist? Sometimes somebody has read a story and you've tell her that, just tell me the gist of what it is about. The gist is the general meaning or general substance or general, point that the text is making. That is a gist, right? So when I say Précis writing is the gist of a passage, that means we're just talking about what the main things about the passage. That's it. We're not getting to details. Okay. Now let's discuss about why are we even studying about Précis writing and how this can help you in your business correspondence and while reporting. This is what this course is about. So we need to understand that whatever we are doing, that is something that is going to benefit us in the long run in our professional communication. Anyone that who would like to try that? Why are we doing this? Otherwise, I'll start. Okay, in office to write reports when you okay. Abhinav, we have not started with characteristics yet. We will be discussing about it. Okay, fair enough. Now, Précis writing will actually help you because it makes your writing easier to follow. You can actually help your Précis writing in email writing, right? In email, we need to be very concise and we need to stick to the point what we're talking. We have to tell our long conversation in a short way what we want to actually talk about. Yes. So Précis writing comes to really help in during writing emails, and especially you're writing your formal emails. Okay, so the language that you use, everything will be effective, and that you can actually be very short and brief about it. Next is it helps to avoid misunderstandings. Okay, while you're writing a Précis writing, you need to write very simple language, right? You don't have to write something very difficult or difficult words, different kind of writing. No, you have to be very simple in your language. So in that case, the misunderstandings are avoided when you're not using too much of technical language, too much of technical words and jargons. So you can actually you can ensure that everybody understands and understands what you're trying to say. It should be everybody should get what you're trying to say. Okay. Now it creates a very good impression when you are into Précis writing because you are basically able to cover all the points in a very short and concise way. So it creates a very good impression on somebody else that you are somebody who has an eye for the details and who can actually include all the details and take out the time to write all the details in a very short and concise manner so that everybody understands what you're trying to say. Clear? Yes. Of course, it makes your language really polished. You can be very you can actually sound very professional and very polished if you can write Précis writing. Now, as simple as it seems, it is not that simple, right? You will actually understand that it is also kind of a skill to learn to explain your things or your points in a very effective manner, and then you keep the retain all the meaning and everything. I mean, you are basically considering all the important aspects of Précis writing, and you're able to express yourself. Are we clear? Yes, it's okay, Asha. Okay. Now, two of you had the problem. First point I've already explained to you. The third point was that it includes the concise description. Includes concise description means that whatever points you want to explain or whatever description that you want to express yourself, you keep yourself concise. You don't go on and give an extra information about all those points, because if you're giving extra details about it, then the whole exercise is lost. Then too, somebody can read that same document as it is. Clear? Yes. Okay. Now, most of you were talking about summary and precise thing. Now, precise is basically, now these are some points about what precise is and what summary is. I won't explain everything too much in details. It is just for your understanding what it is about. Now, Précis is basically a small replica or a model of any passage, right? We present something in a very small, in a short way, right? But summary is a shortened description of any passage or article, right? Now, what does that mean? In Précis writing, the article has a proper heading. It has a proper understanding of the text. Summary can be you are explaining something in your own way, what you understand about the text, right? So in that case, you don't have a pressure of being accurate with your details, right? In summary, you can actually write what you understood, right? Now, in summary, the heading is not important, right? But reference to the original source should be mentioned as, like, for example, when you're writing a summary of something, the heading is not important. But of course, you need to mention that, this is a summary of so-and-so chapter, or the summary is about this article, right? But Précis writing should have a heading. Now, in Précis writing, it also maintains the order of the original text and is always written in a written format. Précis writing is always in a written format, right? And you have to stick to the sequence of what all points had been given. What all points have been given, and then same order, right? In summary, it is not, you're not supposed to maintain any kind of an order, right? And summary can be in a written way also, as well as in the spoken way as well. Okay, you can either tell somebody a summary in a written format, or you can tell somebody a summary in a like just verbally, right? Now, in the Précis writing, only absolute essential points are mentioned. You're supposed to only consider the important points, right? But in the summary, you basically cover everything in a brief form, right? You don't have any rules or any framework that you need to follow for summary. In Précis writing, you follow the same tone and the mood of the writing. You express the same idea, you retain the original idea and the voice of the given piece of writing. You don't give your own voice in the Précis writing. You stick to everything what is there in the Précis writing. But in summary, of course, you explain something in your own words, right? You can omit some details, or you can choose to have a different interpretation of something. You have no pressure of writing what is there in the text as it is when it comes to summary. But in Précis writing, you need to retain the everything given in the original text. Are we clear? Yes. Now, Précis writing is the reader reads a piece of information and has to extract the main idea that has been talked about. In summary, the reader or the listener decides what are the main points that need to be expressed from the given piece. Now, in Précis writing, you read something and you have to extract the main idea. But in summary, you can decide what are the main points. I mean, of course, that's as per your understanding. No, you will understand that what is important for you and what is not, right? Last 2 points are, like we all mentioned, that Précis writing is a replica. Replica is the exact copy of the original message. Okay, I'll get this PPT uploaded, although most of the things are only from your study material. There is nothing separate that I've mentioned. Except this table. This table I'm explaining just for your understanding. Okay. Now, summary does not include a conclusion unless the original piece ends with an important message. Now, Précis writing does have a conclusion. Original message with a conclusion, but summary does not need to have a conclusion. In Précis writing, you maintain the keywords, data, and the concept from the source. In the other one, you can express the main idea of each paragraph and evidence in support of that idea from the original source. Right? Do we understand the basic difference between Précis writing and summary? To summarize, Précis writing is basically a small model of the sum passage. It has a heading. It has to have the order of the same original text. It is supposed to include all the essential points of the Précis writing. It needs to have the same tone and the mood. You cannot have your own expression and you cannot have your own tone and mood about the text. You need to read every piece of information and extract the main idea. You do not have the liberty to choose what is going to come and what is not. Replica is the exact copy, Lakshita, Xeroxed copy or something. Now, Précis writing is also about keywords, data, concepts that you need to retain in your passage. Are we clear about Précis writing? Any problems with Précis writing? Then I will explain about summary. Yes, Kriti. That's why my voice is changed today. But I hope I'm audible to everyone and you're able to understand what I'm saying. I'm waiting for a few more kids to respond before I jump to the summary. Point 5. What is point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Are we talking about it uses the same tone and the mood? Saima, that's what you want me to explain? You will understand better when we're doing the practice of some examples. Some from your study material, some separately that I have. You will understand better what we're trying to say here. But summary is basically a short description of something. It need not have a sum. Yes, no summary has a heading. But of course, you tell about the you basically tell about that what is this text a summary of. Then you need not have a particular or order that needs to be maintained. Then you cover all the important points the briefest mentioned in a piece of writing. You cover all the points. You can express in your own words what you understand. You can delete the details or you can add details as per your understanding. There is no particular framework that you need to follow. Chehal, it's very easy. I've already explained this though, but okay, I'll come back to it, what Précis writing is about. But I'm already explaining you what Précis writing is about. The summary does not include any conclusion. Are we clear? This is just for your understanding. You don't need to get in details. Just understand that Précis writing is the same exact reproduction of a text in a concise manner that also includes the accurate details. Clear? Yes. Okay. Now let's discuss about what are the characteristics of a good Précis writing. I don't think there's any very difficult to understand here. Anything would be very difficult to understand here. But let's just quickly take up each point carefully. Now, what do we understand by the clarity? What do you mean by the word clarity? Clarity is basically, as we know, and this is something I think is the characteristic of most of the writing skills, clarity. You need to be very clear and comprehensible. Comprehensible means that whatever you write, any person can understand that. You should make sure that your audience and for whomsoever you're writing it, they should be able to understand what you're writing. You need to be clear and understandable. Right? You need to use simple language, simple structures, so that you don't make the reader confused. Am I clear? So clarity is about that by using simple language and simple structure of sentences, you make yourself understandable to the readers eventually. Are we clear? This is what clarity is about. Any problem about the clarity? Yes, Lakshita. And this is the characteristic of almost, like I said, for everything. Whether you're talking to somebody, you need to be clear in what you're saying. Whether you're writing any kind of a writing skill, you need to basically be clear about your every point, about your text. You first need to be clear in your head before writing. Am I clear? Next comes the objectivity. Now, what do we understand by the word objectivity? Objectivity is basically when you have an objective approach to something. You're not biased to anything, and you're not biased, and you base your Précis writing purely on the basis of the original text, right? You're not biased with your own opinion or your thoughts, right? Like I always say, like I just said, that for the Précis writing, you need to stick to the original text. So that means that you need to be objective while writing. You cannot write your own thoughts. Am I clear? So you need to be unbiased. Don't get biased by reading something. So that, sometimes what happens is when we read something, we don't agree with it, right? And our thoughts get biased that, what this says is not true, or you don't agree to it. That's fine. But you can basically, keep away your prejudice aside and then write something. Clear? Next comes the correctness. Now you need to make sure that whatever information that you're writing, whatever facts you're writing, your grammar, your sentences, everything is flawless, right? There is no error, right? In terms of your expression, in terms of facts and information that you're writing, in terms of your grammar, your sentences, everything is correct, right? Why? Now, if you make a grammatical error or you make any sentence structure error, you might lose the meaning of what you're trying to say, right? Yeah, you might change the meaning altogether. So you need to be sure of what you're writing. Coherence. Now, coherence is basically that ideas must be presented in a way that shows connections clearly. Now, when you are jotting down your points briefly and you're jotting points in a very concise way, they should at least have a relation with each other. It should look like that they all are the part of the same points of the same passage, right? There should be some connection or some relation with each point. Then comes the completeness. Now, completeness means that you need to include all the important facts from the text. No important fact can be omitted to make it short. Now, we have a tendency. For example, the main passage has 10 main things, right? We might think just to make our presentation short, we might delete 1 or 2 points from the main text, which is not right. Being concise or being accurate or being short doesn't mean that you lose out to any point. You have to write every point, but you have to see how you write everything in a short way. Clear? Then comes the completeness. Your Précis writing should have all the important factors from the original text, right? No important fact should be missed out. Am I clear? Then comes the conciseness. Now, conciseness is basically the desirable quality of a good Précis. Or because that is what Précis writing is about. Why do we call this as the most desirable quality? because conciseness is the heart of Précis writing. If you're not concise in what you say, you cannot achieve the goals of Précis writing, right? If you end up explaining each point, then Précis writing is lost. It becomes an essay or summary or something else, but not the Précis writing, right? So conciseness is very important. You need to be able to explain yourself. You need to be able to convey a message in few words, right? And now this is a skill. This is an art. This is not something that is to be taken for granted, right? Am I clear? Do we understand characteristics of good Précis? Everyone, any problems that you have? Ambiguity means confusion, that you're not clear with something. Okay, so Zeba wants me to explain objectivity once again, and Abhinav wants me to explain coherence in Hindi. Anybody else who wants to explain something else? If there is anything else that you want me to explain again, I'll start again. Okay. Now, objectivity is basically when you write something and you do not include what you think about it. आपको क्या लगता है उस टेक्स्ट के बारे में, that is not important, right? You are supposed to stick to जो एक राइटर ने लिखा है, आपको उसी पे स्टिक रहना है, उसी के बारे में लिखना है. यू कैन नॉट हैव आपको क्या लगता है, आपका अपना व्यू, अपना ओपिनियन, उस पर आप इंक्लूड नहीं कर सकते पैसिव राइटिंग में. सो यू नीड टू बी अनबायस्ड. अनबायस्ड मीन आप किसी और थॉट को लेके बायस्ड नहीं हो सकते. Am I clear? Coherence. Now, coherence is basically जो आपके आइडियाज होते हैं, जो भी आप प्रेजेंट करते हैं, उनका एक कनेक्शन होना चाहिए. इट्स नॉट दैट कि एक लाइन हमने यहाँ से ले ली, एक लाइन हमने यहाँ से ले ली और हमने मिला के उसको पूरा प्रेसी राइटिंग कर दिया है. नो, दैट शुड आल्सो हैव अ फ्लो. उसमें आपस में रिलेशन होना चाहिए उन सेंटेंसेस का. आर वी क्लियर? कंसाइजनेस मतलब कोई भी चीज एक शॉर्ट तरीके से, एक ब्रीफ तरीके से लिखना. आर वी क्लियर? Anyone who has any problem? Anybody who has any problem so far? I hope it's clear to you. Vaishnavi, I hope the meaning of coherence is clear to you. Now, I want you to look at this. This plain text once. Okay. I want you to read this text once so that we can discuss this. Quickly take a reading, quickly give it a look, and then we can start. zoom it a little. One second. Now, can you all read? I hope now this is readable. Okay. Now, in one line, only in one line, tell me what this text is about. What is the main idea of this text? Just in one line. I have not got your responses yet. Can you tell me in one line what this text is about? Okay. Very good, Nidhi. Nidhi says a man is incomplete without a society. Human being is interconnected with social environment. Good. Okay, great. So most of you have got the response and understood what this is about. Now, can you all think of a nice title for this before we jump onto the Précis writing? Can someone tell me what this text? Can you give me the title of the Précis writing? If you have to write the Précis writing of this text, what will be the title? What will be the title of this text? Human is society, human a social animal, man of the society. Okay. Good going. Very good going, guys. Okay, now look at this. Now, this what is written is a Précis writing. Okay. I'm showing you this first, and then we will go back to the text, and then you tell me that do you think all the points are included in this Précis writing? So the title that I have chosen is Man and Society. Human beings have their actions and desires bound up with society as their social animals. They depend on each other for food and clothes and share their knowledge and beliefs and use language created by others to communicate, which helps in their mental development. They are superior to bees because they live in human society. An individual left alone since birth would grow utterly beast-like. Human society guides man's material and spiritual existence. Now, you've read the Précis. This is basically the Précis writing on the same text that I showed it to you. Now, read it once and then we go back to the text again. If you have read, just tell me read. If you have read this, just tell me that I have read this. Read, okay? Okay, 2 people have read. Read very carefully. Then we'll go back and then we'll go through it. Okay, now read this and tell me if there is any point that we have left in the Précis writing or if it covers everything. When we survey our lives and efforts, we soon observe that almost the whole of our actions and desires are bound up with the existence of other human beings. We notice that whole nature resembles that of social animals. We eat food that others have produced, wear clothes that others have made, and live in houses that others have built. The greater part of our knowledge and beliefs has been passed on to us by other people through the medium of a language that others have created. Without knowledge and mental capacities, we would have been poor indeed, comparable to higher animals. We have therefore to admit that we owe our principal knowledge over the least to the fact of living in a human society. The individual, if left alone from birth, would remain primitive and beast-like in his thoughts and feelings to a degree that we can hardly imagine. The individual is what he is and has the significance that he has not much in virtue of individuality, but rather as a member of a great human community which directs his material and spiritual existence from the cradle to the grave. Are you sure it covers everything? Human beings have their actions and desires bound up with society as their social animals. They depend on each other for food and clothes and share their knowledge and beliefs and use language, blah, blah, blah. They're superior to bees because they live in a human society and individual left alone since birth. Okay. Yes, Arshdeep, title can vary. Okay. So now you see all points are covered in this. Yes, this is what Précis writing is about. Do you think that in Précis writing we are talking about somebody's own opinion? No. We are sticking to what was given in the text. The tone has been maintained. Do you think the tone and the mood has changed in both the texts? Just plain, simple language has been used. Simple sentence structures have been used. Yes, right? And if you see, the order of sentences is the same. We have not changed the order of any sentence. Whatever we've been discussing, we're discussing in the same sequence. No point is up and down. No, nothing. Right? If you see, go back here again and see, if you see that all the points are in the sequence. Any doubts, anyone? So do you agree with all the points? Yes, Précis writing is supposed to be almost to the 1/3 of the passage. That has to be the limit. Right. So let's talk about the characteristics now. Do you think the Précis writing is clear to you? Yes, there is a clarity in the Précis writing. Right? The simple language, simple structure has been used. Next comes the objectivity. Do you think that this text is biased? No, this is unbiased. This is exactly what the author is trying to speak here. Then comes the correctness. Do you think there's any problem with the facts, grammar, or sentences? Coherence. Do you think that each line relates to each other? It's going in a flow. It's just going in the same flow of the text. Completeness. All important points have been added. There's nothing that is different. And then comes the conciseness. Yet it is concise. Just look at here and look at here. Are we clear? Any problems, anyone? Okay. Now let's take a 5 minutes break and then we'll come back and we'll go step further and we will be discussing about the steps of Précis writing. Okay. So I'll see you back in 5 minutes. All right, so this was about the characteristics of Précis writing. Now let's discuss the steps. Is there any problem that we have so far? Okay, I'm assuming there is no problem. So let's discuss about the steps. Now, the first step is that we need to read very carefully, of course. For something like comprehension passage or something like this, Précis writing, or for note making as well, we need to read the text very carefully before we start with it. You need to read in the first go and find out what is the main idea or main theme of the text, right? So that actually gives you an idea about what this text is about, right? Then you start deciding about what are the important facts and ideas that I need to include in my Précis writing. You need to jot it down in a rough that what all we need, right? Which is the main point and which is the supporting point, which is the point that needs to be in the Précis writing and which you feel is irrelevant to part of Précis writing. Okay, so you start underlining important terms and ideas. Now, when we are underlining the terms, we need to underline from the perspective of including the Précis writing. Maybe there are few words that are technical and that needs to be expressed in the Précis writing as well. So you need to note down your points and then you start basically filtering your content. Next comes the suitable title for the Précis writing. Now you have to choose the title according to the main idea of the text or the central idea of the text. You need to understand what this text is about, and that is how to title. Because title reflects what your passage or what your Précis writing or whatever your writing skill is going to be about. Clear? Any problem that anybody has? Now, you prepare the first draft. Now, first draft is that you reduce the original text to its 1/3 of length. You reduce the content, you pick up the main points and main thoughts that is expressed in the passage, the main opinion that is presented, and the conclusion. And then you start with your first draft. Like when your first draft is ready, you need to reread the draft again. Now, when you read the draft again, you need to shorten it further if necessary. Then you need to omit and you need to look up for the details that is not required and you just delete it for your final draft, right? And then you rephrase few sentences if required, right? So you basically make all the necessary changes. First, you will delete all the unnecessary things. You go through your language again. You look for the spelling errors again, and then you rephrase certain sentences. Maybe you want to combine two sentences into one sentence. So you start with the rephrasing of the things. Then you will be able to produce the draft, and then comes the final draft. Now, final draft basically includes, and you need to revise and you need to check for the words that you have used to express the idea of the passage. Try to use as minimum as possible the word limit to not go over the board. Yes, Ishan, all the points are supposed to be in the order. Bhargavi, there is only one type of question that can come. It's an irrelevant question. A passage will be given to you. You need to choose a title and the Précis writing about it. have to write it, right? So these are the very easy steps. First is read carefully, then you decide about the important facts, then you select a suitable title, then you prepare the first draft, which is almost the 1/3 of the original text. Then you reread the draft, and then you prepare the final draft. I made clear? Any problems? Any problems with the steps of Précis writing? Yes, should be 1/3 of the passage. That's right, Bhumika. Any problem that anybody has? Okay, now so should we start with another example? We'll follow these same steps. We'll start with the read carefully, then we go to decide, then we go to the select. No, Kriti, first draft and final draft cannot be same unless you are so perfect in the first draft. At times when you rewrite something and when you go back and read it again, you definitely will find few errors in your own writing. Everybody does. Vaishnavi, please refer to the previous year's question paper for this. Can we start? Okay. So let's start with this next topic. Okay, so now you have to read it. First, read it. If you have done it with your first step, just say first step done. Read carefully. You have to read and then find out the main text, main idea of it. If your first step is done, just write down first step done. Now tell me what is the main idea of this text. Yes, some of you have got the answer. Okay, it's about global warming, reasons, a big problem, harmful effects, consequences. Now, our first point is done, which is about the read carefully. Now, tell me, you have to decide the relevant points now. Which is the relevant point? Which are the important points? Now, quickly note down in your query box which are the important points that you think should be discussed. Quickly write down the important points that you think will be included in your Précis writing. You have to be very brief with it. Just tell me 2-3 points which are the main points that you think should be included in this. So it talks about how ice caps in the polar region are rapidly melting. It talks about deforestation and increasing levels of carbon dioxide. It also talks about if the steps are not taken, the rising water levels will submerge all the land masses. Then it talks about the ozone depletion and what is the consequence, which is another serious consequence of global warming. Then it talks about the holes in the breaches of protective layer in our planet, harmful UV rays, health hazards. And it talks about the awareness, that steps that we need to create awareness about the prevention of it. Good, Sakshi, very good. Okay, now you've got 2 points are done. Our step 1, step 2 is done. Now let's come to the select suitable title. Now you know what all points that you need to include in your Précis writing. Now let's select the suitable title. Tell me what will be your title of Précis writing. Yeah, most of you have got the right answer. Good. Global warming, need for the hour, harmful impact of global warming is suitable title. Very good, Vaishnavi. A serious concern, a serious issue, effects, problems of global warming. Okay, I would keep it very simple. I'll just choose global warming because that says it all. Everybody knows that what is this consequence of global warming. Okay. Now, a third point is also done. Now, let's start with the first draft. I want you to write a first draft. I think this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. This is about I think it's about like 150 words or something. Now, fairly, just give me a 1/3 of this passage, including all the points. Now, you have to write the Précis writing, and which is 1/3 of this passage. And you have to include all the points. Let's see how you can do it. Arshdeep, I don't agree with hazards to environment because this is not telling us about what we're talking about. When I choose a title like hazards to environment, it could be anything. It's not, I mean, the title doesn't tell me that this is about global warming. Save the planet, human planet. No, you have to stick to what this text is about. This is what choosing the title is about. You need to know what this text is. Is it talking about save the planet? Is it talking about human planet? No. It is primarily talking about the adverse effects of global warming. What are the problems that we all are facing, right? And why this is happening, what will happen later on. Okay, now quickly give me the first draft of Précis writing. Okay. Bhumika. Now, when we're writing Précis writing, that does not mean that we write abrupt sentence structures. No, your sentence structures have to be complete in its meaning and in the form of structure. You cannot give me lines starting from anything, just like anything. You have to write proper sentences which are grammatically correct. Surya, you have written as it is what is given in the first paragraph. No. Good, Sejpreet. It's a good attempt. Done with your first draft? Now, I want you to read it first and then see if you can change your own sentences, if you can change your own words, you find errors in your writing or not. Sayed, where does it talk about only air pollutants? It talks about the levels of carbon dioxide. Like, this is what I'm saying. You cannot write your own words. You saw global warming, Ishan? Is global warming a tangible thing? Now look at this. The consequences of global warming are grave. The ice caps, which are melting due to deforestation and increasing levels of carbon dioxide, can cause a rise in water levels and submerge land masses. Global warming can lead to ozone depletion. Lack of preventive measures can either cause health hazards or the extinction of species. Preeti, where is your draft? Preeti, I have not received. I have to resend it again. Now, one of you, Sakshi, what you have done is you mix the sequence of the sentences. You cannot do that. Like I said, you need to stick to the sequence of the Précis writing. First step, second step, third step. Now, you cannot mix and choose to write in whatever sequence you want. Okay, now look at this. Are you done? Is your second draft also ready and the final one too? Tell me honestly, did you find some problems with the first draft when you read it again? Were there some errors that you could find, some grammatical errors, some spelling errors, some sentence structures, or maybe in the sequence? Yeah? Were you able to find or not? Yes, some causes were. No, Kriti, you cannot. You cannot write the. If you will copy the sentences as it is, then how will you complete your Précis writing? Good. So one of you says that some causes were missing and some spelling errors that you could find. Then one of you say that your Précis writing was very long, so you've shortened it. See, when you read it again, you find your own mistakes. Okay. Now look at the Précis that has to be there. The consequences of global warming are grave. The ice caps, which are melting due to deforestation and increasing levels of carbon dioxide, can cause a rise in water levels and submerge land masses. Now look at this first line and look at here. The ice caps in the polar regions are melting rapidly due to deforestation and the increasing levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. If steps are not taken soon, the rising water levels will submerge all the land masses. Right? Now, all of this has been combined like this. The ice caps, which are melting due to deforestation and the increasing level of carbon dioxide, can cause a rise in water levels and submerge land masses. Now, you see, these two sentences were same, common, and we have mixed it. Clear? Global warming can lead to ozone depletion, lack of preventive. Now, ozone depletion is another problem, right? These hole or breaches in the protective cover of the planet let harmful UV rays reach us unfiltered. Now, ozone depletion. Now, the second line is the explanation of that, right? So this is why we have omitted that statement and we just added about the ozone depletion and we have written about the lack of preventive measures can either cause health hazards or extinction of species. Now you see how we have done it? Good, Kriti, you could find your own mistakes. Are we clear how we're supposed to do Précis writing? We'll do more in the next class. Don't worry about it. But was this exercise helpful? Now, do you understand what Précis writing is about? What are things we need to include and how we should do it? If everything is clear to you, just mention it in the query box and then we'll go ahead with more theoretical things. Tell me, is there anything else that you want me to explain? Okay, Diksha, that's okay. You'll get better with your practices. Okay, great, Bhumika. Now let's talk about what is not Précis writing. Okay, now let's read about what is not Précis writing, what all things that should not be part of the Précis writing. This is for your knowledge. This is not part of your study material, but this is just for your knowledge, or maybe it is. I'm not sure. Let me just check. Yep. In points to remember, some points are given, but rest are here. So what is not Précis writing? Now, Précis writing is okay. Now, Précis writing should not convey your opinions, remarks, or criticism. It is not your interpretation of the main idea. Please understand, it is not your interpretation. It does not, nobody is concerned what you feel about the text. And nobody is looking for your opinion, remarks, or criticism. Précis writing is something that you tell something exactly, but in a short way. You cannot add a question in the Précis writing. You can add not add your own questions in your Précis writing, like what do you think and how do you think about it, right? It is not a summary or rewriting of the original abstract. It is not the summary. Please understand that we are not summarizing something. We are just producing something in a short way. We are not rewriting the original abstract. We are creating a Précis writing here. It is not about using some important sentences from the original writer. Do not use, I've already mentioned this, one of you have done this. You just picked up the same sentences from text. I told you that you cannot pick the same sentences from the text. It is not a collection of disconnected facts, thoughts, and statements. You are not supposed to collect the facts and thoughts and statement that doesn't connect with it, right? Any relevant information you do not need to pick. It is not an outline of the passage. The outline of the passage is to just tell what this passage is about, from the distance. No, it is not the outline. It definitely includes all the important points of it. You should not use abbreviations or contractions. Use full form. The structure or the language has to be perfect. It cannot be that you're using whatever at your own will. No. Précis writing cannot be shaky, since that will reflect your own understanding level of the sense of the text. You need to be very confident in what you write. You need to stick to the point. You need to be sure of what you're writing, because if your languages do not have a connection, if your language is not proper, if your sentences do not build something constructive, it reflects on that you have not understood the text well, right? And you don't want people to think that about you. Précis does not have unnecessarily long sentences. Do not make your sentences long. You can keep it brief, short, simple, as you like, right? As long as it is correct, the length of the sentence does not matter. Are we clear? Yes. Any problems that you have so far about the text, about Précis writing? Please ask me now. Otherwise, we'll just take a one last example. Quick. If there is any problem, ask me now. I'm just taking out an example to discuss. Pretty long. 7th point and 8th point. Saima, you are asking a question that was discussed in the beginning of the lecture. Précis is that when you stick to the point, you just include what is there in the text. You pick up the main points and you tell about it in a concise way. Your Précis writing is basically accurate in nature. It cannot be shaky. It cannot jump from one sentence to another without any base. Uh, you need to stick to the point. Okay. And now this one will be very interesting if you read about it. Okay, I'm sharing the screens with you. I wanted to read this text and like quickly we'll discuss the main points and the title. That's it. One of our most complex, difficult problems is that what we call discipline, it is really very complex. You see, society feels that it must control or discipline the citizen and shape his mind according to certain religious, social, moral, and economic patterns. Now, is discipline necessary at all? Please listen carefully. Don't immediately say yes or no. Most of us feel, especially while we are young, that there should be no discipline, that we should be allowed to do whatever we like, and we think that is freedom. But merely to say that we should be free and so on has a very little meaning without understanding the whole problem of discipline. The keen athlete is disciplining himself the whole time, isn't he? His joy in playing the games and very necessity to keep fit make him go to bed early, refrain from smoking, eat the right food, generally observe the rules of good health. His discipline and punctuality are not an imposition, but a natural outcome of his enjoyment of athletics. Now you have to tell me the main idea of this text. Importance of discipline, self-discipline, discipline. It talks about discipline, various connotations. I like the word that you've used, connotations. Importance of discipline, importance of discipline. Yes, that how discipline shapes us, right? Now, I want you to write quickly a Précis writing, the first draft of it. Himanshu doesn't talk about discipline is natural, Ishan. It doesn't talk about discipline in society. No, it doesn't. Quickly write down the first draft of Précis writing for this example. Please make sure that you remember the characteristics, you remember the do's and the don'ts. The sequence has to be maintained. Surya, again, in Précis writing, you have written the first paragraph as it is. No, Rekha, keep your titles very simple. Don't try something that ends up being wrong. I'm talking about the first draft of Précis writing here. Diksha, what is it? And where does it talk about good and successful life? Lakshita, you've gone totally on another way. Okay. Now see, within 2 lines, you can actually explain about this entire passage without losing the meaning. Although many people detest discipline, it is crucial in molding our lives and habits. It should not be treated as an imposition, but rather a natural outcome of good habits. Now, what this passage is trying to say is that discipline is imposed on people. It should not be imposed. It should come from within, that we need discipline in our lives so that we succeed. Now, for example, an athlete, it disciplines himself. Nobody else is disciplining him, right? So whatever you guys are writing is all wrong. We don't need such paragraphs. This one has very less information. So we can choose to write just 2 or 3 lines also for the Précis writing. That's the main crux, right? Now read this. Although many people detest discipline, it is crucial in molding our lives and habits. It should not be treated as an imposition, but rather a natural outcome of good habits. Agreed? Now read the text. Do you think it has explained everything? Do you think it has explained everything? Don't worry, we will be practicing this more in the Friday class. This is just to give you a gist, or give you a just, example that how it is supposed to be and how it is. Clear? Any problems that anybody has? Have you understood this example? Now, any problems that anybody has from today's class, please ask me. Any problems so far? Anything that you want me to repeat once again? Now, like I always say, these things will get perfect with time. And treat every chapter as a, I would say, as a skill that you would need uh, henceforth. You will always need this kind of a writing, skill set. And this is exactly why this is there in your course for the business correspondence and reporting, because you will be using somewhere or the other each skill in your professional life. And before that, if you master these skills, it makes your work easier while writing your own answers for the other subjects, right? So take every chapter very seriously. Practice, practice, practice. That is the only way to succeed. Read, read as much as you can, so that you build your vocabulary, you understand about the sentence structures, you basically understand about different styles of writing, right? That increases your knowledge, right? And you learn that, okay, this thing can be explained in this way too, right? People, yes, you can use different vocabulary words. You're not bound to use the only words, but yes, you cannot use a technical word. If your one word can save a few words for you, do that. Use good vocabulary words. Okay. Now I'm going to stop myself here. You can ask me if there is any problems. Otherwise, we call it off for the day. Let me know if everything was clear to you, if today's session was good. I hope you're filling up the feedback forms. No, you don't have to sorry for anything. You're just learning. As long as you pick up something from the lectures and you learn and you improve yourself, there's nothing to be sorry about. You cannot get perfect in one day. No worries. Anything else that you want me to explain, or everything is clear to you? We'll continue this chapter on Friday as well. We will discuss a few more things about it, points to remember, do's and don'ts, and then we're doing a lot of practice, since it's easy to practice on the query boxes. No problem. Everything is clear to you. All right. So I'll see you on Friday now, and we'll continue this chapter. Till that time, if you have any problems, please keep them noted somewhere and ask me first thing before the class starts. Yes, it's not a difficult topic. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. Have a good evening. Enjoy the day. See you on Friday. Bye-bye.